Hello and welcome to another Leica review. Today we are looking at the Leica Q2, which has come out recently. It's been announced, and you can pre-order those, which I put the links down below if you want to get this camera. We did provide the first section, which is the first part of this review, and if you haven't watched that, I suggest you watch that. We give a bunch of information about this camera, how it performs, and more importantly, the new improvements that have been made on this new camera. Now, in this second part, I'm going to talk more about the functionality, the things that are very critical about why this camera will perform a certain way. Now, one of the things that we need to notice is the fact that it has an ISO range of 50,000. Now, whether that is usable or not is a question that has been asked many times. And what I will say to you is, if you're going to do photography, you generally want to keep your ISO as low as possible. So if you're going to do, for example, photography at night, I don't recommend going above 3200. Now, this can be pushed to 6400 or 12,800, which is sometimes possible. You can still get image that is going to be reasonably usable. But if you are doing it for professional reasons, if you're doing wedding photography, if you're doing architectural photography, if you're doing it for any commercial reasons, you want to make sure that your ISO is low so that your images come out as best as possible. Now, there are going to be circumstances where you may not be able to use that. And that is the time when you will need to have, for example, situations where you need to push up the ISO. In my point of view, whatever you're shooting, you should not need to push your ISO up more than 3200. Ideally, what you want to have is a tripod that will stabilize the camera as long as possible for long exposures. If you are going to use this camera for professional reasons, again, better version is to use lights, because lights are there, and photography in itself means painting with light. So if you have proper lighting, if you have proper flash, if you have all these things, you are going to get much better photograph than using the camera with this ISO levels pushed up. Now, those who are not familiar with the ISO is the higher number it goes, the more noise it creates. The digital noise is the enemy of what the photographs are in the digital realm. Digital realm means that you can capture images in high quality, but it also means that you'll have to battle certain things like the digital noise. Now, digital noise in the older cameras that had the CCD type of sensors was more randomized, so it did not look like patterned. But in the CMOS sensors, which is the current form of sensors that are used in almost all cameras, have this kind of a digital pattern that happens when you push the ISO too high. So for the practical purposes, using a 3200 max is what I recommend. Now, they're going to see a whole bunch of reviews, and we shot it at 12,800, etc. What I will say to you is, if you shot that at 12,800 and you show it to the client, and the client wants that blown up, what you're going to get is digital noise. Okay. Now, there are a whole bunch of software that you can use in the Lightroom, other ones, that is going to clear out and soften that image, but that's not what you have this camera for. If you are going to soften the image by reducing some of the digital noise, then it's not going to look as beautiful as it should. Now, if you're going to only share it on Instagram and other social platforms, even Facebook, you don't need a camera as good as Leica Q2. You can just do it with a cheap smartphone. And I tell you this much, most people will not be able to tell the difference. What you want to be able to do is use the camera at its best. These are things that cannot be done with smartphones. For example, if you shoot at 1.7 f-stop, that means it's going to make the background blurred while the subject is going to pop out. Now, that is something not possible to do in smartphones, not at least without going to post-processing. Within the camera, this is an advantage that you have. You also have an advantage of using the full frame, which means that your images are going to come better and more contrasty and more micro contrast. So if you're going to use it and print it out and put it on your wall, this is the one you want to have. Again, you can use it for wedding photography. I would love to carry things like the Leica Qs and the other cameras with me at all my expeditions. Every time I go into a set, even if I'm filming or if I'm doing photography, either way, there's always a camera like a Q2 or like an M that I use that's compact as a backup camera. Now, important here, this camera is designed, and Leica keeps pushing forward the idea that it is supposed to be a photography camera first, and that's what it is for. It is not designed for those videographers that go, I want to shoot it and I want to hold it on a camera stick and walk around and make a video. Yes, you can. The quality will be there, okay? But look at the specs. Let's look at the specs. You're going to have UHD format, which is not a DCI, which means that you're going to have a crop frame, which is okay for if you're going to post it on YouTube, not on cinema quality, and that you can get up to 30 frames. Now, if you're going to shoot anything that is going to be in DCI format, which is the cinematic format, you're going to have to drop down to 24. Now, again, here, these are things that are of not important considerations because most likely you're not going to use your Leica Q2 for these kind of purposes. But for competitive reasons, if you want to shoot 4K, it is there. Now, most people want to have slow motion. They want to have things that are very beautiful, very cinematic, and that is where the full HD comes in at 120 frames. Now, that means you're going to get slow motion. You're going to get images that are going to be beautiful, and the color settings inside that's pre-existing as the software is for rendering out images, you're going to have pretty good colors. So it is not the one that you export into your Premiere and then try to adjust the colors in your settings. It is pretty much plug and play. So you record it, you put it into your computer with minimal thing. You can post it on YouTube or you can post it on whatever you want to post it on. It is going to look good if you're sharing with family. It is designed for the person who's as novice or as amateur, so that he doesn't have to know how to use any of the softwares. He can just take it and put it into his computer and send it off to friends. Now, rendering in 4K, again, this is a thing that people misunderstand. That file is going to be huge. So if you shot 6-7 minutes of it, most people's emails are not going to be able to handle it. So you have to do transfers and all that stuff, and that is not the way to do it. If you want to do good quality work, you want to do good stuff, you are going to have to take that and use it in physical format. What that means is you're going to have to put it on a hard disk or you're going to put it in a USB and then transport it. That is the best way to do it. And of course, there is the idea of what this camera is intended. It's intended to be a utilitarian tool. That means it is good for everybody. It's good for the person who's going to do video as much as photography. It's good for the grandpapa who wants to take grandchildren photographs and also use it on his trip to Hawaii. It is designed for the yuppie who lives in San Francisco and wants to own a Leica. That's the camera, okay? That is the camera that will give you the great quality, great name, the recognition, the compact, the beautiful design. It is a piece of machinery that is designed for industrial use. And this is the reason I say to anybody who wants to buy this camera, this is designed for you to appreciate it and use it for long term. Now, are you going to ever need more than 47 megapixels? You are not going to. What I mean by that is unless you're doing very professional work and you're going to blow things up in huge dimensions and billboard it, well, again, what that means is you're going to probably use a different camera. But if you are using Leica Q and Leica Q2, what you can do is take multiple shots of the same shot and then combine it in Photoshop to get much larger pixel files, like 150 or even 200 megapixel files, that is going to give you the details you're looking for. Now, it is important here, again, what I will come back to is the lens quality. The lens quality is what will render the image quality as good as it should. And that is the reason why you are paying the extra. That's why you're buying it. And it's the camera that you can take it in your bag. You don't have to worry about lenses. You don't have to worry about changing lenses. You don't have to take extra stuff. You don't need to have a camera bag. This is why this camera has become popular, and this is why it is something that anybody can own. Now, again, notice the sensor. The sensor is 47.3 megapixels. It is the Maestro 2. So it's Maestro first version is going to have the 24. This is the 47. If you tell me I don't need that many megapixels, well, you can get great bargains on the Leica Q. Again, here what is important is the technology. Technology is where they have made changes in the software to minimize some of the digital noise and improve the ISO performance. That is what's going to give you a bit of advantage from the previous version. Overall, Leica Q in its original format is great. You will find many bargains for it, and the next couple of months there will be more, and I'll provide some links for those where I get them and how you can find them. I would say if your intent is for travel photography, this is a great tool. If you're not very versatile and if you don't need to produce YouTube videos, this is the camera to go for. Now, we are going to do part 3 of this review, which I will talk more in depth about how to use it and how to get best results from it, and some other specs that we need to look at, and those will be in part 3. So what I recommend is, if you haven't watched the first part, do go back and watch it and then follow up with the third part to get a great understanding of how this camera will perform. Also, remember, when you look at and watch other people's videos, you have to ask one question: is this camera sent to them for review, and how are they talking about it? You may find, on people's websites saying, I'm this and that. Look at the credentials. Even go to Leica's website and look at the credentials of the people they're promoting. See if they are making films, as they say it is. If they're making photographs, look at their photographic work, and that will speak for itself. So what I would like for everyone is to make an informed decision. This is why I say to everyone, make your research, look at the different types of reviews on a camera before you make your purchasing decision. And when you make that purchasing decision, you should know why you're buying it and how it's going to perform and pros and cons of it. So this is the reason I have made this in 3 parts, and this is why you're getting a full review of it. Now, I will join you in the next review. Thank you for watching.